Yeah, the invoice is attached, but it's not dated that I could find anyway. So I was just a little bit confused because it feels like it was done quite some time ago.
I was also wondering, with the Apogee ones, like there's not a lot of detail on those. Can somebody remind me? I mean, there was a very large line, like the first line item was quite large for, just fees. And then I know there was like a second invoice with, that was kind of specific to a provider. I know we had kind of like a startup fee with them, correct? I believe I saw that on there, but just, I guess if anybody has a refresher of what that contract looks like and what we expect on like a month-to-month basis on that one going forward.
To the Premier one, there was an invoice from June 4th of 25, and then there was another invoice from September 10th of 25.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Sure. And then what was the other one, Apogee?
Yeah.
So it looks like there was an invoice dated 8/31/25 for $30,000. And then another invoice, the same date, 8/31/25 for $40,000. And then 8/5/25 for $160,862. And then 9/10, another one for $172,710.26.
Okay.
Are those the numbers you were asking about?
That's pretty much what I recall. Yeah, I think I was just, wanting to know. I didn't know if you had a chance to review those, Bill, or how that, was handled kind of in the transition. Just want to make sure that those have been vetted and are what we expect per our contract with them.
Yep. So speaking to that, I've just started yesterday and today to sign off and approve. So I actually got trained on NetSuite, and I went through and I think I approved 78 different invoices.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. No, it's been very, very instructive. And anytime that something just doesn't make sense to me, then I can pull up the invoice itself and look at it. And so in general, anything over $5,000, I looked at the invoice. And the only two things that I had questions about was haircuts and radiology billing. Everything else seemed to be well documented and in line from my quick reviews.
Okay. And were those Apogee ones included in what you have reviewed?
No, those dates.
Those were prior.
Would have been prior, yes.
Okay.
Routinely, Ashley, will those vouchers have signatures on them that they've been vetted?
So I know like the ones that we've been getting from ARC, there will be a signature on those from like the provider that is documenting their time there. And then Greg would sign those as well. But I didn't see that on these Apogee ones.
Yeah, the process
I don't see them there either.
I don't know whether we do that here, but the process I'm used to is whatever department head owns that service, they should review the invoice and sign off on it. And then it goes to accounting for them to code it and process it. And then before any check is cut, it's reviewed by CFO, CEO, someone to sort of as a double check on the expense before the payment is made.
Okay.
So it's a reasonable expectation for us to know that you will have reviewed these after you've been on site for more than 72 hours, Bill, right? You will have
Yes.
reviewed all of these before they come to us for accuracy and
That's
appropriateness, right?
Yep.
And excuse me if I am stepping on your question, Ashley. I just wanted to clarify. I think if I was hearing you right, you were kind of asking if this was to be, if some of these fees, if Bill felt they would be monthly or weekly things, or if they were just one-time things that we should expect and what the expectation is there. Am I getting your question
I think
kind of
that's
clarified?
Yeah, and just with, the amounts of some of those, like and it not being as well documented, I feel like on those have been reviewed. I guess I would just maybe feel better if maybe we can, go ahead and motion to approve those. Bill, if you wouldn't mind taking a second look at those ones for us, just to make sure that, those have been double checked at the executive level.
Sure. Happy to do that.
Okay. I would feel better anyways. I don't know about anybody else, but.
No, I would as well. There have been some fees that I am always a little unsure about what they're for. So just want to make sure that there's somebody laying eyes on those before they get to us.
The other thing that I'll do is I'll get a copy of the Apogee contract so I can make sure that I understand contractually what we're obligated to and how the billing is supposed to happen. So that will let me match it up much better.
Perfect.
That sounds great. Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any other questions about any of those invoices for our review? Okay. Would someone like to take action on these items?
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve the invoices in excess of $20,000 contingent upon Bill's review and approval of the Apogee invoices.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Kenda. We have a motion and a second for approval of the invoices over $20,000 contingent on Bill's review of Apogee. Are there any other questions or concerns? Okay, in favor of the motion as set forward, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item under new business is I did ask Mr. Patton to give us a quick update on our survey. We have some good news to share that we got late yesterday afternoon, so I wanted him to kind of give us a quick rundown. Oh, Bill, I think you're on mute. You owe us $1.
Okay.
That's our rule. If you speak on mute, you got to put $1 in the jar.
What jar and where is it?
It's on my desk.
Okay. So yeah, we got the survey plan of correction submitted yesterday midday, and by the end of the day, we already had a response from them accepting the survey. So we have been awarded accreditation by CIHQ. We have a looking certificate that we're going to get hung in a couple of places in the hospital. The notification has already been forwarded to the state to start the process. Oh, but I want to go back. I need to say thank you. And, it's always hard to do a long list because you don't want to overlook anybody. But Lindsay and Dr. Burnett, Christina, the key people. Everyone played a role in making it happen, but I want to give special kudos to those 3 folks. And then Lane coming in at the last minute to help. Couldn't have done it without those people. So going on with where do we go from here? So already forwarded to the state. They then have time to process it. We've already had communication with them via iBailey, and they're going to turn it around very quickly. The problem now is CMS. So once it gets to CMS, then they're right now running about 3 weeks behind. And it takes about a week for them to actually do their work. So 4 weeks there. Once CMS is done, then they kick it to Noridian for their approval. Noridian is a fiscal intermediary. That's who we'll be using to process Medicare, Medicaid claims. They have 10 days and they assign the CCN. And then we have to apply for an electronic data number, which takes about another week. So altogether, we're looking at something in the neighborhood of about 6 weeks, realistically, to get the CMS number. And then we can start billing for Medicare and Medicaid as a PPS hospital. Thank you, Lindsay, for doing the note to the billing company. We've already informed them that we want them to write off all of the billings, Medicare and Medicaid billings, from August 4th through September 15th. And then I asked them to verify in writing that they understand that they're supposed to be holding all Medicare and Medicaid billings from September 16th moving forward. So for the next 6 weeks or so, we need to hold all of that. And then as soon as we get the number, we can release the hounds and get all of that billing flowing. And then we went on and we talked about the steps after that, as far as making the application for critical access. And so I won't go into a lot of detail on that. We'll cover that at another time. But I do want to let you know that one of the things that's going to be required as part of that application is documentation of the board actually authorizing the organization to convert from PPS to critical access. And we talked about whether that can best be done by just a simple motion that's documented in your minutes, or whether we would have a separate resolution that you would pass, again, documented in the minutes. But the thinking was that the resolution would be the more expedient way to do it, because minutes would not be able to be published until after the board approved them. And so unless we had a special meeting a few days after the meeting, we would be talking about a lag that could delay that. So we're just going to be ahead of the game and get that to you so that you can consider it, edit it as you see necessary, and then get that approved. So as soon as we can submit the license, then we can get the critical or the application, we can get the critical access process rolling. Best estimate is a time frame of between February and April for when the critical access conversion would have been completed. So February is probably optimistic. March, maybe early April is realistic, and then end of April sliding into May would be pessimistic. But I feel very relieved that this first very important step in that process has been completed successfully. We're going to be sending out a note to the employees tomorrow morning. I wanted to tell the board before we sent that note out. And then we're also going to be issuing a press release to the community and getting something on our website about it. And we are going to be, just so you know, we are going to be doing a simple little celebration. It's not going to cost a ton of money. but I think it's important that we do a celebration. And we're also going to do what I will call a catch-up celebration from the Sublette Center's inspection. I think it was back in June. That was really good. And we didn't do any ice cream or anything like that. So we're going to roll the two thank yous into one little celebration that we're going to do here in the next couple of days. Happy to answer questions on that. And I hope that's enough detail.
I appreciate the information and the review of the process, Bill, very much. And I just want to say I love that you're celebrating. I think we have to celebrate these wins. Everyone's kind of had their nose to the grindstone, and we need to celebrate. So, and I'm super proud of the team, super proud and grateful for all the work that went into that survey. And I think the results were better than we could have even anticipated. So I'm just grateful for everyone that had a role.
Yeah, thank you.
I agree. I appreciate the information and very exciting news. And I also love that you are making a point to celebrate that with the staff. I think those things are much appreciated. So thank you, Bill.
Yep. And I just wanted you to know, because I know there could be criticism. Why are we spending on a celebration now when we're so tight on money? And I'm sorry, that money is going to be very well spent.
Yep.
No, I think it's a must do. So well done.
Good. Good.
Any other questions or comments from the board for Bill on the update with the survey? Okay. All right. Let's see. I guess that puts us at the end of new business.
Madam Chair, can I interrupt you for one moment, please?
Sure.
I apologize for interrupting you.
No, you're
But
fine,
while
Rena.
we've been sitting here, I was looking up more information and spoke with our facilities director about that premier development bill. Madam Chair, I believe that that was from work that was done before December of 2023, when the hospital district took over those properties, and there was an agreement with the county to pay half of that roofing cost, which is what those revisions were for. And it sounds like maybe Mr. Liskey just submitted the invoice as the work was just completed last fall.
Okay. Thank you.
So that
So
is
I'm not
something we
losing my
really,
mind.
no, you are not. But we really need to look into that, because I don't believe that half of that invoice has been submitted to the county for reimbursement either.
Okay. Thank you for doing that back research for the context, Lena. That's kind of what I remembered, but it's been so long ago that we approved that work. I wasn't certain in my recall. So
Right.
how would it be best for us to handle that? Should we just pay it and then send an invoice, or do you think we should sit on that and pull it from our current action and send it off to the county first? What would your recommendation be?
I would recommend that the board pull it so that we can confirm with Premier that that's exactly what it is for. Keep in mind, I'm catching our facilities director kind of flat-footed with it, right? And he has not seen the invoice either. It must have gone directly to accounting. So I'd like an opportunity just to confirm with Premier as well as Mr. Bell, just to make sure that's what it is.
That would make me much more comfortable as well. It's kind of why I was asking. It's been a long time ago. So
it was
That's
a very long time ago.
That's a perfect example of what Bill just referred to as far as
Yes.
departments approving invoices before they go to accounting.
yeah.
Well, I believe that was the practice quite some time ago, and it was changed here recently. Lindsay, am I incorrect on that?
That's correct. Yes, how the order that Bill spoke, that's how we used to do it. And then when Greg was here, we did directors, these invoices would not go to directors necessarily. They would go directly into the PO system for the CEO to approve.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I would like to amend my former motion to remove the Premier Site Development invoice from approval until it can be further investigated.
perfect. Thank you, Ashley. Can we get a second on that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you, Kenda. So to amend the prior motion and remove the Premier Site Development invoice for further research, can I get a vote? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Jameson, did I get, I didn't hear a vote from you.
I
Just
voted
looking-
aye, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we have 3 ayes, motion carries. Thanks, Lena, for diving into that while we were discussing other things.
Of course.
Okay. So in regard to the credentialing discussion, Bill did bring up some interesting points to me and explained how he's done it in previous facilities. So I went back to Lena and said, Lena, why did we handle credentialing this way? And I just wanted both of them to speak briefly to the board again to discuss how we're handling credentialing and why there might be a better way to do it if we so choose. I don't want to make any decisions. We can discuss next week. But Bill, if you just want to kind of explain the processes you've seen in other hospitals to the board and what you've seen that look like, that'd be great.
Sure. So in an effort to meet the board's responsibility to oversee and be responsible for credentialing and privileging, the way I've seen it at most hospitals is that they assure that the medical staff has a process by which the candidate is appropriately vetted. So usually that's done through a credentialing committee, and usually the credentialing committee then reports up through medical executive committee, who then confirms the work that the credentialing committee has done and then makes a recommendation to the board. And so rather than board members having to look at individual files, they rely on the work that the credentialing committee and the medical executive committee have done. And they typically get a single sheet of paper that lists all of the new appointments, all of the reappointments, and then the resignations is something that I haven't seen being documented. Once a physician or a mid-level practitioner resigns, then that is just accepted and it's documented in their file, but no action is taken. The one exception to the process that I've just described is when I was in Sitka. The Sitka board, it was a 7-member board appointed by the city council. And they appointed one member of the board who was responsible for going in and meeting with the medical staff coordinator prior to every meeting. And he went through the files. And then rather than the chief of staff or the chief medical officer presenting to the board, that board member, having reviewed the files, would present and would highlight any concerns or deficiencies that they saw to the board. So that was the one unique approach that had been used. So while it's commendable that the board here is willing to take the time to review these documents, I've never seen it done this way before. From my perspective, I'm not sure that it's really necessary. And I would guess that some physicians, if they knew that every board member was looking at their file, might have a privacy concern. Not that they would need to know, but that's one of those things that you try and anticipate things before they become a problem. So for that as another alternative to how you can fulfill your responsibility, but maybe not take quite so much time on your part.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And then Lena, do you want to just give the board a quick rundown of why we chose to do it this way?
Sure. Sure. I apologize for not having something more polished in a response, but I absolutely can provide you the context and kind of how we landed here. So in my representing hospitals across the state of Wyoming for the last 21 years, I have seen it done numerous different ways. The Board of Trustees has the right to decide how to handle, just as Bill described. You can do it different versions of, reading only the credentialing packets that are concerning to the MEC. You can read the entire credentialing packets. It really is up to the board as to how to handle. The way that we landed where we are is, I would remind everyone that we built the credentialing committee from the ground up, just like we're building this hospital from the ground up, right? So it was new to, first of all, establish a credentialing committee, much less put committee members in there who had never done it before. The process was new to everyone. And I think that there was a level of comfort by the credentialing committee members and medical staff, as well as the board at that time. I would remind the board that this is a non-delegable duty, meaning you cannot delegate it to anyone else within the organization. So if the hospital district were ever to be sued for negligent credentialing, which 9 times out of 10, is in hand with a medical malpractice case, that duty cannot be delegated to anyone else. You cannot say, well, we listened to our credentialing committee, or, we followed what recommendations the MEC had, or what have you. It is a duty that the board is unfortunately stuck with under the law in the state of Wyoming. Now, having said that, the board, again, has absolutely every right to handle it however you see fit. So if the board becomes comfortable with the credentialing process and the credentialing committee and the recommendations by the MEC, as Bill has described, that's absolutely an appropriate method to go about credentialing. It really is up to the board and the board's level of comfort. There is no privacy right in credentialing applications, so I don't want that to spook the board. Every provider that provides information in a credentialing application knows full well that will be reviewed, and it's not limited to just a credentialing committee or medical providers. So it's up to the board, and the board needs to discuss what their level of comfort is. The other thing I'd like to speak to is the resignation of the past provider that we had in that meeting. I want to make it really clear. The board did not accept a resignation of an employed provider or physician. What the board accepted was the resignation of the credentials of a provider who no longer would have credentials and privileging at our organization. So I hope that all makes sense.
That's perfect, Lena. Thank you. And board members, because this wasn't a discussion item, I don't really want to dig into it too deeply tonight. I just kind of wanted to give an overview of the conversation that Bill had brought up earlier as we were kind of working through if we could get this credentialing done tonight or not. And I'd like to put it as a discussion item at next week's meeting. I just kind of wanted you to chew on the options that might be at our disposal. So can everyone take those considerations, and we'll come back to it next week for a possible change in how we handle things. Maybe not. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could share with the board too, I will full on admit that I'm a little gun shy when it comes to credentialing. I defended a case in Campbell County where one provider got sued by 52 patients, and it was a negligent credentialing claim against the hospital district. And those were the claims, that the board didn't review their credentialing application thoroughly, and it was a nightmare. So I'm always a little bit hesitant to try and pull that back much, but full well appreciate how hard this board is working and the heavy lift of reviewing all those credentialing files.
I think we can all appreciate the context, Lena. Lord knows we've been through no lawsuits, knock on wood, but plenty of transitions and obstacles in our way. So I think we've always kind of been the board that's tries to be better safe than sorry. But I do appreciate Bill's suggestion to kind of lighten our load to some extent as well. And it might be possible for us to meet somewhere in the middle and have kind of a hybrid type situation, as he alluded to. So I just wanted everyone to, yeah, thanks. I just wanted everyone to know that there were some points of discussion and that I do intend to put it on the agenda for next week. So. Okay. Well, I appreciate the updates and information that's been shared tonight. That does bring us to the end of our business for the evening. So unless someone has something else burning that pertains to our agenda, I would ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I would move to adjourn this meeting.
All right. Thank you, Kenda.
Second.
Second by Ashley. Thank you. Before we close, I am remiss to report that I wanted to excuse Taylor tonight. I forgot to mention that she's having some downtime, so I wanted her to know we would miss her this evening, and we have a motion and a second to adjourn. So without further discussion, all in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.